I can't believe I'm saying this, but Star Wars Jedi Survivor is finally fixed, at least on PC. After a grueling year and a half of incremental patches, Respawn Entertainment's action-adventure title, which had been notorious for its performance issues on PC especially, is now showing significant signs of improvement thanks to the recently released Patch 9. This update notably removes the controversial DRM system de novo, resulting in a substantial performance boost, because players can now enjoy smoother frame rates, less hitching, and a more efficient loading experience, addressing one of the game's most exasperating flaws, the protractive optimizing game's file screen, as this was a particularly annoying issue. Every time you fire the game up, you have to sit through this irking rigmarole, effectively becoming an extra and, well, extra long loading screen. I mean, it's still there, but it's nowhere near as bad as before. Patch 9 also introduces a range of quality of life improvements and bug fixes, making the game far more playable than it was at launch. Overall, I'd say Patch 9 finally does fix Jedi Survivor for the most part and makes it enjoyably playable on PC. And, well, before anyone in the comments section gets an aneurysm for me saying this, yes, it was technically playable before also, but only if you're willing to force yourself through a stuttery and hitching mess most of the time and didn't mind redoing everything after multiple crashes, along with a lot of other problems the game had since its launch. Unless, of course, you were part of the 1% that just had a lucky experience and had no issues whatsoever, but again, you were part of the minority there. I mean, there's a reason Digital Foundry called Jedi Survivor the worst AAA PC port of 2023, and boy, were they right. It's honestly a big reason too why I quit playing the game and never finished it, and as a result, never did a review video on it. Since, well, I don't believe in reviewing a game until you've played all the way through it. But now, after Patch 9, I'm very much now considering to jumping back into it and at least getting through the story once and for all. That said, from my short experience with the patch, Jedi Survivor's performance still isn't perfect after Patch 9, as there are still frame rate drops in Kobo, which, while not optimal, is still so much more better than how terrible it was before. Along with the other issues still persisting in the game, like the weird shadow mapping in the river, and the main menu still not having a capped frame rate, which as a result keeps overworking and needlessly heating up your graphics card the longer you remain in the main menu. And it's baffling to me that after all of this time, Respawn still hasn't been able to fix such a straightforward and simple issue. But yeah, if you can overlook these things, then without a doubt, this game is in a much better place now, and one that I can actually say is worth buying on PC. I couldn't in good conscience recommend it before, but I can now. Additionally, Patch 9 came out with the good news of Jedi Survivor being ported over to the old-gen consoles like Xbox One and PS4. So now even more folks will get the chance to experience this game as these versions release on Tuesday, September 17. I can only imagine that these ports are well optimized for the older consoles and won't feature the same performance problems and glitches that the current gen and PC versions had to originally deal with. That said, we do have some bad news to talk about too here, but fortunately, it's not regarding Jedi Survivor, but more so Star Wars Outlaws. With the news being that, surprise surprise, the game has been underselling, and with it, Ubisoft's stock has been sinking rather than flying to the moon as they originally had expected. According to the Financial Times, analysts have now revised their sales forecasts downward, predicting only 5 million copies will be sold this quarter instead of the initial expected 8 million. And this forecast is definitely a blow to Ubisoft, which has already been grappling with financial struggles, including a significant drop in revenues and a stark transition from profits to losses over the past year. Yeah, it's not looking good for Ubisoft whatsoever. And while this is a surprise to Ubisoft themselves, I can't say many of us are ourselves surprised by this. At least I'm not, as I feel we could have easily told them all about this before them releasing a game that goes against what many players want. Especially one that has a serious lack of customization, sloppy stealth system, some brain-dead AI, and the played-out formulaic Ubisoft open-world design that so many people find now uninspiring, along with, of course, a myriad of other issues present in the game. Well, it was just Ubisoft asking for trouble to put this out as the final product. And what can I say? Trouble is exactly what they got. That said, it's not all doom and gloom for those who have already bought Outlaws, as Massive Entertainment have recently dropped a new patch, Patch 112, for the game that addresses the performance issues on both consoles and PC, some quality of life improvements, and as well addressing the challenging stealth moments. Basically revamping the stealth detection mechanics and improving the rate at which the AI will notice you in certain story missions. It's still far from perfect, but nonetheless, it is a welcomed improvement. Lastly, the patch also introduces cross-progression and cross-saves via Ubisoft Connect, which will allow you to access your cloud saves on a whole different platform. And this is huge for those players, for example, who are moving from, say, consoles to PC, and still want to retain their progression and continue off from the save where they left off on. Still, even with this patch, I think it's not only too little, but also too late, as the ship has sailed and the hype for Outlaws just isn't there anymore. And that's the thing. If the gaming industry wants to avoid such pitfalls like Ubisoft is dealing with Outlaws, then it's clear that developers need to listen more closely to their communities, and as well dare to innovate rather than relying on what's worked before. Well, especially when it stopped working a while ago. Ubisoft's struggle with Outlaws serves as a reminder that even the biggest franchises and IP are not immune to failure. To stay relevant, developers need to prioritize innovation and truly understand their audience from the very start. Because once the hype fades, it's often gone for good. And that will do it for the Star Wars Games Update. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, and subscribe to the channel to not only support it, but to keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars content. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.